إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أحسن الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. So in the last lesson we started a section that continues from the section dealing with the scholars, and this relates to the awliya. And so At-Tahawi said, وَلَا نُفَضِّلُ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ عَلَى أَحَدٍ مِنَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ وَنَقُولُ نَبِيٌّ وَاحِدٌ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ جَمِيعِ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ. We do not say, or we do not give preference or make more excellent any of the awliya over a single of the anbiya, the prophets, upon them be peace. And we say that one prophet is more excellent and more superior to all of the awliya. And continuing from that, وَنُؤْمِنُ بِمَا جَاءَ مِنْ كَرَامَاتِهِمْ وَصَحَّ عَنِ الثِّقَاتِ مِنْ رِوَايَاتِهِمْ. And we believe in whatever has come regarding the miracles and whatever is authentic, what has been related through the trustworthy people with respect to these miracles. So in the last lesson we went through some speech of Shaykh al-Albani, Shaykh al-Fawzaan, and so today we're going to move to the statement of Shaykh Saalih Aall Ash-shyakh. And so he begins by saying that At-Tahawi here, by way of these few sentences, he wants to establish a very great and mighty aspect of Aqeedah. And that is to say that the most excellent of the people are the prophets. The prophets are indeed the most excellent, the most superior of all of mankind. And that a single prophet is more excellent than all of the awliya. Single prophet is more excellent than all of the awliya. And that Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, that it is from their belief that they do not give preference to a wali over a nabi. And this issue here, obviously, it's connected to the issue of prophethood and the issue of walaya. We've already discussed in the previous lesson about al-walaya, which is this general loyalty that every believer has with Allah. And obviously there's another greater station which is prophethood, which is nubuwah, and that is a greater station. And so this issue here about, who is more superior, who is more virtuous, who is more excellent, this is important because there were certain groups that appeared, and they basically claimed that a wali can reach a level that is greater than the level of a nabi. Right? So they turn things the other way around. And so these groups which fell into this, there are two broad groups that fell into this, two large groups in fact as well in history. The first are those who are known as the Batiniyah. And these people appeared roughly in the 3rd century, early 4th century, and these people, they try to enter basically a mixture of Greek philosophy, a mixture of Zoroastrianism, and they try to merge that with the Sharia, and often they entered into Shiism as a veil and a cover, right? So they wore the gown and the cloak of Shiism, that we are, like the Ismailis, for example, and underneath that was this aim to basically bring in philosophy and whatever was the science of the time, and to basically replace the Quran or to merge it with the Quran, but really the intent is to compromise the Quran. And so this group, there's like a broad name for many different factions which appeared, the Batiniyah. So they, as a result of this, they came to the conclusion, or they were upon this belief, that some of the awliya are better than some of the anbiya. That's one group. The second group are the extremists among the Sufis, the ghulat al-mutasawwifa. And in that particular time, we're speaking now at the end of the 2nd century, right? So just around 200, that era basically. There was an individual by the name of Al-Hakim-at-Tirmidhi. Al-Hakim at-Tirmidhi. This is not the Tirmidhi that we know, who is the author of the Sunan at-Tirmidhi. This is a different Tirmidhi. And his name is Muhammad bin Ali bin Hassan. Muhammad bin Ali bin Hassan at-Tirmidhi. And so he basically wrote a book which we'll discuss shortly. And so again, in this book, he basically gives the impression, without saying it explicitly, that a wali is superior to a nabi. So now at-Tirmidhi, obviously, you know that he died at the beginning of the 4th century, which is 300, early 300s. So in that era, you see that in that era there was already the mutasawwifa were present, and likewise the batini movements that were just appearing, and their writings were being circulated. They had lots of writings, they wrote anonymously, and spread them amongst the Muslims. So because of these two issues, we see that here at-Tahawi is dealing with this issue of walaya, nubuwa, wali, nabi, and so on and so forth, to correct or to establish the correct belief. So basically that is just that we believe firmly that no matter how righteous a wali is, no matter what good deeds he has attained, all of that is actually as a result of him following a prophet. Right? So how can therefore he be more virtuous than a prophet? Because everything that he has with him of iman, of righteousness, of good deeds, of piety and everything else that we see from him, even the fact that he might inspire thousands of other people, millions of other people to upon righteousness and piety, that never came from him himself, because he is ultimately following the guidance of somebody else, which is the Prophet ﷺ. So he's really a fruit of following, making ittiba' of the Messenger ﷺ. So there's nothing about him independently. So therefore he can never ever be someone who is more superior than a prophet or any of the prophets. So that's in general, introduction to the topic in general. So as for the masail, as for the issues now that relate to it, then the first issue, which is the issue of at-tafdeel meaning considering, giving preference, or making the awliya to be better than the anbiya, then as we said, this arose from the extremist Sufis, and they have a certain phrase that they use, and it's called khatmul walaya. Khatmul walaya. Khatmul walaya. And what this means is that just like we have the seal of prophethood, khatmun nubuwah, and the Messenger ﷺ is the khatam al-anbiya. He is the seal of all the prophets and the messengers. And likewise they say that the awliya likewise have a khatam. They have a seal as well. And so therefore you have a khatam al-awliya just as you have a khatam al-anbiya. And they say on top of that as well, that the khatam al-awliya, the seal of the awliya, he is actually more superior and more excellent than the seal of the prophets. Meaning that there are people, or that there is an individual who is more superior than the Prophet ﷺ. And this idea was presented by this Al-Hakim at-Tirmidhi, and in a book which he called Khatmul Walaya. And this was printed, sections of it was printed many long time back. And in this book he basically established the general idea that the awliya have a seal, and inwardly, a wali, this wali, whoever this wali is, he can reach a level whereby he receives revelation directly from Allah Azza wa Jal. Directly. And that therefore a wali can be more superior than a prophet. Now, he didn't really say this in explicit terms, right? He didn't come out and say that the Khatam al-Awliya is superior than the prophets or the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't say this explicitly. But if you look at his words and his speech in general and you see what is it that he's really trying to say, this is the conclusion that is inevitable from his words, right? He didn't say explicitly. Obviously, you have to realize as well that these people probably realized the seriousness of what they were presenting. And so they didn't say it in an explicit way, but they would say it in a roundabout way. So this is obviously a big mistake that he fell into. It's a futile saying. And you see that a lot of the things which came afterwards from the Sufis, like, for example, Wahdatul Wujud and things of that nature, all of them really, they go back and they appeared after this book came on the scene. Right? So after this book appeared and it spread, and it then led to other beliefs emerging until you saw the appearance of the belief of Wahdatul Wujud. Now, in reality, this is an invalidation of Islam itself. It's an invalidation of the Sharia. It's an invalidation of the Sunnah. It's an invalidation of revelation. Right? So this leads to kufr. And then there came after him people who then developed this idea further. And so from those famous names is Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi. And Ibn Arabi, he wrote a number of books. From them is Al-Fusus and Al-Futuhat Al-Makkiyah. And so he expresses the same idea in those books. And then there come after him others as well. There's an individual by the name of Muhammad bin Uthman al-Mir Ghani. Al-Mir Ghani or Al-Mir Ghani in Arabic. Al-Mir Ghani or Al-Mir Ghani. And this guy is from Sudan, and he has a tariqah which is known as the tariqah al-Khatmiyyah. Tariqah al-Khatmiyyah. Right? And this is the same concept. The tariqah that relates to the seal of the awliya. And from them is a guy called At-Tijani. At-Tijani. You probably heard of the Tijaniyah. At-Tijaniyah, which is a well-known Sufi group, in Africa. And now these people were present in the 1200s, in the 13th century Hijrah. And this individual, Al-Mirghani, he has some books like Taj al-Tafasir, in which he explicitly states this Aqeedah. Explicitly states this Aqeedah. And like as you also have At-Tijani himself, and he was, as we said, he's from the North African region. And all of them believe that the walaya has already been sealed. Right? So meaning that there has already come the seal of the awliya, just as the seal of the prophets has already come and gone. Now here, this is where now, Ibn Arabi claims that he is the Khatam al-Awliya. So Ibn Arabi claims that. And likewise this Al-Mir Ghani, he claims that he is Khatam al-Awliya. And likewise this Tijani, he claims that he is Khatam al-Awliya, that he is the seal of the awliya. Right? So this is what we mean by Tafdeel al-Awliya ala al-Anbiya, giving a superior status to the awliya. And on the basis of what belief did they come to this conclusion? Right? They came to this conclusion on the basis of this idea of, that just as the prophets have a seal, and the awliya have a seal, and that the awliya, they can reach a level whereby they can receive revelation directly from Allah. And in this respect, therefore, they are superior to some of the prophets, or if not all of the prophets, as some of them would say. So this is the conclusion, that the awliya are better than the anbiya. But what was behind it? What doctrine came and what actually led to this conclusion? And it's this idea of, as we said, of the seal of the awliya. Now the second issue, the second mas'ala, is that when we now look at this doctrine, Khatmul Awliya, that we've just discussed, we see that it's based upon three foundations. There are three basic ideas or elements to this doctrine. And the first element to this doctrine is, they say, that whereas the prophets and the messengers, they brought a sharia which is zahira. It is something that is outward, it is something that is open. And as for the awliya or the wali, then he brings something which is a sharia batina, a sharia which is inward. It is inward. Now, once they make this distinction that there is a zahir, the apparent outward sharia, and by this what they really mean by the sharia zahira is what we see outwardly of what people perform of prayer and fasting and hajj and all of the ahkam, interactions, the mu'amalat, buying, selling, marriage, inheritance, and all of the things which the sharia governs. This is the sharia zahira. Right? So the prophets came and messengers came and they conveyed these rulings to the people. And then they say there is another sharia which is batina. Then after this they say that the wali is actually with the prophet in the outward affairs. Right? He is with the prophet in the outward affairs. And this is because the prophets, as they claim, they nurture the outward appearance of the people. Right? So the sharia of the prophets, it comes and it regulates the outward behavior of the people. So therefore, as we've said, regulates their manners, their behavior in terms of, like we said, the marriage, the interactions, the mu'amalat, things to do with crimes, punishment for crimes, the affairs of prayer that, refine the character and, make people live better lives. So the prophets, they say, they were concerned with just the outward actions of worship. But as for the awliya and khatam al-awliya and the crop, the cream of them, the best of them, they basically were more concerned with taking directly from Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So what they mean, so they actually give an analogy. They say that if you look at the parable given for a prophet in the Sunnah, the Prophet, he said that he said, my example and the example of all the prophets is like a building which has been completed and beautified until there's just one place left, one place for one brick left. And so the people began to, walk around it and saying, if only this one brick could be found, it would complete the whole building. And so I am that brick. Meaning the Messenger said, he said, I am that brick. And I am the seal of the prophets. Right? So they take this hadith, and this is what Ibn Arabi does, and they say, well, in the same way, the Khatim al-Awliya, they have, likewise, there's a building, and they take the position of two bricks. Right? They take the position of two bricks. One of those bricks is a silver brick, which is the outward element, the Sharia Zahira, in which they are in agreement with the prophets in the outward aspects, and so they fulfill the role of that brick. And at the same time, they also fulfill the role, they also are another brick, the gold brick. And this brick is, what they mean by that is that they are basically, this brick represents the fact that they are taking directly from Allah Azza wa Jal, that they are receiving revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal. So this idea that Hakim at-Tirmidhi, he put in a roundabout way, without saying explicitly, Then Ibn Arabi came along and he developed this further. And then others after him came and they explicitly stated it. Al-Mirghani, At-Tijani, and people like that. So this is the first element upon which this doctrine is built upon. Khatmul Walaya. First element about Sharia Zahira, Sharia Batina. The second element is that they say that the Khatam al-Awliya are more superior, or is more superior than the Khatam al-Anbiya, because when we look at the seal of the prophets, we see that he took from Allah Azza wa Jal by way of an intermediary, right? Meaning Jibreel, that there had to be someone in between him and Allah that brought the revelation to him. And also, the Khatam al-Anbiya, the people take only what benefits them outwardly, the outward affairs. As for the Khatam al-Awliya, then he takes from Allah directly. Now, obviously, there are certain consequences of this belief, and you will see these people writing, certain things that explain to you the reality of what they are saying. So, one of those things that this man, At-Tijani specifically, that he wrote, was that he said, whoever sees me, and whoever sees whoever saw me, and whoever sees whoever saw me, and then he goes back to 5 levels, right? All of them are, the hellfire is unlawful for them, right? Hellfire becomes haram for them. And that's because that the Khatam al-Awliya, because he is receiving revelation directly from Allah, and revelation is like a nur, it is like a light which illuminates him. When it comes into this Khatam al-Awliya, and then whoever sees him, and whoever sees him, and going back 5, it goes all the way back to 5 levels, then all of those people, because of what they acquire of this nur from this individual, they will be saved from the hellfire. So that's the second element, right? They say that Khatam al-Awliya is more superior than a Khatam al-Anbiya because he receives revelation directly, no intermediary, right? So the first one was Sharia Zahira, Sharia Batina. Second one is that they receive revelation directly, whereas prophets only receive revelation through an intermediary, which is obviously the mean Jibreel alayhi salam. And the third, the third issue which underlies this belief of Khatmul Awliya is they say that the Prophet ﷺ, or the Prophets in general and the Prophet ﷺ in specific, that revelation came to them out of Allah's choice. Right? Allah chose to send revelation to them. It was something that Allah chose to do. But as for the wali, his revelation is something that doesn't happen by way of Allah's choice. Rather, now there's actually a term, a philosophical term that is used here. And they call it fayd. Fa ya dad, fayd. And what this means is that the English word, the correct word in English is emanation. Emanation, to emanate. Right? And emanate. Like for example, you have light emanating from a bulb. Right? Light emanates from a bulb and it spreads in every direction. So in a similar way, what they are saying here is that light emanates from Allah. Light emanates from Allah. And likewise, revelation emanates from Allah. In other words, Allah is always, He is emanating from Himself. And that emanation, whether it be light, whether it be revelation, that then comes and the wali is able to receive it because his batin, his inward is such that it can receive that light and that revelation. Right? So basically it's as if this revelation is being transmitted all the time. But there are only certain people who are able to receive it. Right? So these are the awliya. But as for the prophets, well, Allah Azza wa Jal chooses to reveal to them something. So he sends Jibreel alayhi salam, and he brings knowledge, revelation, and then conveys it to the prophets, and in this case the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But as for the awliya, the Khatim al-awliya, it doesn't work that way. Rather, it is on a different level. Right? It is as if they are able to receive because of the special status that they have, and because they're inward, they have done tasfiyah, the inward is pure, they are able to receive by way of emanation, so they can basically receive this revelation that is always emanating. They can basically receive it. And so therefore, from this angle, the awliya, the Khatam al-awliya, is superior to the Khatam al-anbiya. Superior. And so these are the 3 points, yeah? So we have the batin and the zahira. Sharia batina and sharia zahira. Then after that, we had the second one, which is that the prophets have intermediaries and the awliya do not have intermediaries. And the third one is that revelation Allah chooses to reveal to the prophets, whereas his emanation is direct and does not involve choice on his behalf. And it goes directly to the awliya, and specifically the Khatam al-awliya. So this is generally what the idea is built upon. So that's the second issue, right? So we've looked at the first mas'ala, the tafdeel, on what basis it is. Secondly, we've looked at this Khatm al-Walay, the doctrine. It has 3 elements to it. The third mas'ala, the third issue, is that now obviously this has a consequence on the issue of miracles, and we do believe in miracles, but we believe in them in a correct way, which we shall discuss inshallah ta'ala. But these people, the Batiniyya, the Rafida, Ghulatu Sufiyya, they believe that for these reasons that we mentioned, and also for the reason of miracles as well, right, which we're going to discuss in what is to follow. They believe that the awliya, therefore, the wali is superior in status to the prophet and the messenger. And that's what we mentioned previously in the previous lesson, a line of poetry. They said, مَقَامُ النُّبُوَّةِ فِي بَرْزَخٍ فَوَيْقِ الرَّسُولِ وَدُونَ الْوَلِي. The station of prophethood is in a barzakh. It is in the middle, and it is above that of a messenger, but less than that of a wali. Right? Now you have to also look at the words used as well. So here they did not say fawq al-rasul. He used a diminutive form, which means like a lesser, smaller form. Right? You have a kitab and kutayyib. Right? You have a book and like a small treatise. So what it really means to say in this poetry is that nubuwwah is just slightly higher than messengership, right? Nubuwwah and risala. So nubuwwah is here and risala is just slightly beneath it, because he didn't say fawq, he said fuwaiq, right? Which is just slightly above. But then when it came to the wali, he said dun al-wali, which means less than a wali. So basically what he's really saying is wali is here, where my hand is here, up to here, and then below, significantly below, is a prophet, and then just slightly below him is a rasul. That's what they mean, as opposed to a wali here and a prophet there and a rasul there. Right? This is saying a prophet and rasul are like here, right next to each other, with the rasul just slightly less, but the wali is up there, way above, way beyond. And that's the meaning of the poetry, because of the word.
What was the poetry again?
Yeah. مقام النبوة في برزخ مقام النبوة في برزخ فويق الرسول ودون الولي. So in other words, between a wali and a prophet, there are actually many levels. And then between the prophet and the messenger, there's only a slight difference. So that means between prophethood and walaya, there are many levels and stations, which can be filled by, different people. And obviously at the top would be the Khatam al-Awliya. So now this poetry and this arrangement, this order, is something that you see that the extremist Sufis have spoken with. And likewise the Rafida, you find it amongst the 12ers, the 12 Shiites who believe in the 12 Imams. And you see this statement of Al-Khomeini, this kafir and mushrik, and he said in one of his books that he said this is something that is known by the physical senses, and it's not something that doesn't even need any evidence, because you know it with the physical senses, that our Imams have a station that cannot be reached by an angel, by a near angel, nor to a prophet which has been sent. Which means that the status of their 12 Imams, of the Shia Rafida, that they have a higher status than that of the prophets. And obviously, no doubt, now you can see this belief and this idea now where it's leading to. This is actually a revilement of the Quran, a revilement of the Sunnah, and a revilement of the Sahaba. Because remember, the context of this discussion, we spoke about the Sahaba at the beginning. And we spoke about the ulama. And now we're speaking about the awliya. Because the awliya, the most superior of the awliya, who are they? They are Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and the 10 promised paradise and the Muhajirin and the Ansar. Right? They are the awliya. How can someone after them be more superior to them, let alone the prophets? And so they are in reality Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and so on and so forth. They are the awliya. They are the true awliya. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also mentioned that his generation are the best generation. And so how can someone come who came after, much after, how can they claim that they are more superior than the true and real awliya of Allah Azza wa Jal? And of course, anyone who speaks with the likes of this statement that you see, that what we've been speaking about, this no doubt is kufr. A person can be judged a kafir on account of this particular, this type of belief. So this is why At-Tahawi, he mentioned this, because these ideas, were set in motion during his time. And we now move to the second, and this is why he said, وَلَا نُفَضِّلُ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ عَلَى أَحَدٍ مِنَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامِ. And then he said after that, وَنَقُولُ نَبِيٌّ وَاحِدٌ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ جَمِيعِ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ. We believe that one prophet is better than all of the awliya. And so Allah knows, who He wants to choose to, send His prophethood. And whomever He chooses, that individual is more superior than all of the awliya put together. So then after this, he moves on to the next issue, which again is connected, which is the karamat of the awliya. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِمَا جَاءَ مِنْ كَرَامَاتِهِمْ وَصَحَّ عَنِ الثِّقَاتِ مِنْ رِوَايَاتِهِمْ. We believe in what has come of their miracles and what has come authentically through the trustworthy people of their narrations in that regard, meaning in regard to the miracles. So again, just like he has clarified the issue of walaya and nubuwah, and this is something connected to both nubuwah and walaya, because miracles, they happen to prophets and they also happen to the awliya. And so he's connected this topic to the previous one. And so basically, in short, in summary, we as Ahlul Sunnah, we believe what the Quran has come with, what the Sunnah has come with, and what the authentic narrations have come with from so many different routes and directions. that we believe in the karamat of the awliya. We do not negate them. And, those reports which have come, we believe in those reports, and we believe in them because in the Quran, Allah affirms that there were certain miraculous things which would take place to other than prophets. We'll come to those ayat shortly, inshallah ta'ala. And likewise in the Sunnah, very clearly in the Sunnah. And the reason why he brings this again is to refute a specific group of people. Right? And those group of people are the ones who are the rationalists, the aqlaniyin. And in that time, they were the Mu'tazila. So, but notice as well how he affirmed belief in miracles, which the Sufis and the extreme Sufis, they believe in as well. But then he conditioned it with the condition of authentically related, because there are so many fabricated stories and falsehoods and claimed miracles which are just lies. So we believe in them, but we believe in them in the correct way. And at the same time, this is a refutation of those like the Mu'tazila who deny the miracles of the awliya. And the reason why they say that is because they say that if other than the prophets had miracles, those miracles would resemble the miracles of the prophets. And this in turn would lead to a confusion between a wali and a nabi. That is to say that we wouldn't be able to distinguish, who is a wali and who is a nabi, because it would become, the issue would now become confusing. And this would now entail a revilement of prophethood. So we deny that anyone besides the prophets and messengers have miracles. So then there are some issues, some masail in relation to that. There are numerous masail. We'll try to complete 3 or 4 of them, inshallah ta'ala. So the first of them is that the word karamat, the asal of this word is karama. That's a singular, sorry, and its meaning is ikram. It comes from the word ikram. And ikram means when someone is bestowed with something or given a gift, and it is basically like someone being honored. Someone is honored by being given something. And this obviously means being given something by Allah Azza wa Jal and being honored by Allah Azza wa Jal by being given that thing. So this is linguistically the general idea. But as for the technical usage, which relates to our discussion, then the definition is of a karama, it means amrun kharikun lil'ada jara ala yaday wali. There are 3 things here. First of all, it is an extraordinary affair, meaning it is out of what is ordinarily seen and observed and known. It is extraordinary, something that is not normal, right? It breaks the common laws or habits or the ways that we see as being, as normal. Jara ala yaday wali, and it takes place at the hands of a wali. So this event or this thing, it takes place at the hands of a wali. Now if you think about this definition now removes, because it's like a favor, it's an ikram, it's an in'am, it's something, Allah bestowing something on someone. So now excluded from this definition would be all of the normal bounties and favors that people generally receive. Right? So for example, rizq, sustenance, is something that Allah bestows, a favor. Allah honors the son of Adam, with clothing, with food, with drink, with housing, with, luxuries and so on and so forth. And so these things don't really come into this definition of karama, because the Ahlul Iman in general, the people of Iman in general, no matter where they are, we see that they're always receiving the bounties and the favors of Allah. They're being honored by Allah. Right? So So that does not enter into this definition, because this definition, its guiding principle is amrun khariqun lil-'ada. Right? It opposes what is customary. Now, here there's an extra condition we have to add to this, is that the 'ada meaning that which is customary, that the 'ada is whatever is customary for that time. And the reason why this addition is important is because, for example, something might be a miracle in the 2nd century after Hijrah, but it is not a miracle today. Right? So, for example, in the 2nd century of Islam, it could be the case that someone might travel from Syria to, another location in the swiftest of times, in an hour, for example, to Mecca, right? Or maybe, he could maybe learn of things very, very quickly, right? Which wouldn't allow for distance, right? Which wouldn't even allow for, like a bird or a swift animal to account for that time. But he learns of something very, very rapidly, right? So in that time, that would be amrun khariqun lil-'ada, right? And the 'ada is the 'ada of that zaman. The 'ada meaning the custom, whatever is customary, it's for that time. But like today now, for example, if you got from here to, let's say, London in an hour on, plane from an airport to, this is not something that's miraculous. Or direct communication, someone's on the other side of the earth where it's nighttime and we're in daytime, and you can see them, hear them, speak to them. This is not something that's amrun khariqun lil-'ada. Why is that? Because this affair now is part and parcel of it's based upon the laws in Allah's creation. Because within Allah's creation, we know that we can transmit waves. There's a medium, and through that medium we can transmit waves, and they can be transmitted in an instant, right? Or through wires, wires which cross oceans and so on and so forth. We can transmit data, pictures, voice, audio, video, right? So there's nothing extraordinary about this in this time that's easily achievable. It would not be considered to be a miracle. So we have to be clear then about this definition. Amrun khariqun lil-'ada jara ala yaday wali. So then this second half, jara ala yaday wali, jara meaning that it takes place, meaning that it's made to take place. Because remember, it's Allah who bestows it. Allah is bestowing this miracle. So it takes place at the hands of a wali. And so the meaning behind this word, jara ala yaday wali, meaning that, like, he didn't say, for example, the wali does it, or the wali performs it. Right? This wording in Arabic, jara ala yaday wali, it conveys the notion that it was made to take place at the hands of a wali. So it has the connotation that it's something that's bestowed and made to take place. Not that he, because people obviously have certain powers. Some people are given certain powers. Like some people have the power of strong perception. The hearing is very good. They have certain natural, innate faculties, powers. Right? It wasn't on account of that. Rather, it was something that was bestowed upon him. Either it could be by the medium of the angels, so the angels intervene in something, or it could be some other cause or some other sabab that Allah Azza wa Jal, that He initiated or He brought about or that He willed. Right? So it's not on account of he didn't do it. It was made to happen through His hands. Right? So pay attention to this definition. Amrun khariqun lil-'ada jara ala yaday wali. And keep in mind the issue of time, whatever's suitable to time or whatever's limited to time, and also the fact that it's made to take place at the hands of a wali. So now obviously now we have to also address the issue of what about those things which happen at the hands of the soothsayers and the fortune tellers and the shayateen and the swindlers and the cheats and the lies and so on and so forth. We discussed that briefly. We mentioned that that with these people, obviously these are shaitanic deeds. They are not related to Iman. Right? So we are here speaking about Iman, taqwa, walaya, and what Allah may bestow upon a wali of certain miracles. Now, outwardly, what these people are doing, it might appear to be out of the ordinary, but really what they are doing is they are making use of the if we can use that word, natural ways and means, or those ways and means which Allah has put in His creation, and which the non-Muslims and the philosophers and the scientists would say, the laws of nature, right? So to us, from within the laws of Allah's creation is the unseen. We cannot see the jinn, but the jinn, they are able to do certain things. And so the jinn, they interact with the men and they collude with each other, and the jinn serve the men serve the jinn, the men subservient to the jinn, and the jinn subservient to the men. They have mutual benefits from each other, and as a result of that, you will see certain things that they do, like, for example, walking on water, flying in the air, levitating, stabbing oneself with a knife and not being harmed, and all these other types of things. In some cases, they are just tricks. Like, for example, they might put certain insulating material and rub it on their skin and appear to walk through a fire. At other times, it could actually be the use of actual jinn, right? So with these people, they do not enter into the definition. Why? Because we are talking about the khawarik, which are imaniyah, not shaytaniyah, right? And these which are shaytaniyah are not khariqun lil-'ada, right? Because they are just using the ways and means. There are the ways and means that we cannot see, right? Now, for example, we can understand how electricity works and we can see it in operation, and we know that this is just the ways and the means. But we can't see the jinn, we can't see the world of the jinn. But nevertheless, there are still like mechanisms, and so we will discuss that in the next week. We'll continue that lesson, inshallah, in next week, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah. So we'll.
How are you? Okay? You good?
So inshallah, we'll conclude that lesson there today, and we'll continue with that discussion next week, inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een.